away at the weekend. One more point required. You would expect them now, after that tonight, to see the job through.
Yeah, you certainly would. I mean, I don't think Manchester City carry that fear factor at the moment like they used to, so Fulham will be looking to end their season, which has been a good season as well, on a high, but just needing a point now, you'd have to fancy them. I mean, it was a big result tonight. Champions League is an absolute must. I mean, all their players are on big money. They need money for signings, of course. You know, the rules as well. You need to be bringing good money in, good finances in to be able to buy the right players, and they certainly need to buy a few players as well. So we will see what happens, but yeah, you know, this is the minimum requirement as Champions League for next season.
And encouraging at least tonight, Marmoush, he's got 7 Premier League goals now, all of them at the Etihad, ironically. And Gonzalez, another big money signing, getting in on the act at the end. They're going to be the future, aren't they? With new faces again, you would feel this summer.
Well, I mean, obviously it's gone a little bit under the radar, but Rodri came back today.
Yeah.
Ballon d'Or winner. I mean, Oscar Bob came back. What a special young player he is. So he could maybe develop into that Kevin De Bruyne in that number 10. Maybe not not a Kevin passer, but he's a very creative player as well. So he'll pass the torch. But, you know, obviously Nico is a good player, but that midfield is, you know, Rodri's going to be in there, but who else is going to be alongside him for the next few years? That's going to be a big part of this team going forward, because, you know, Kevin De Bruyne was you just knew when he was playing, you had a chance to win the game. And they got to find somebody of that level, which is going to be tough.
And it's not just as big a player as Kevin De Bruyne is Kevin De Bruyne leaving, is it? We expect more departures. It's quite a rebuild here that Pep Guardiola has got at City.
That's what it feels to me. It feels like a rebuild to me. Sometimes results can go badly and it can just be an unlucky season with injuries or whatever it is. But I look at that team and think, even if it is still the right team, even if this team is good enough to go and win a league as it stands, I mean, it will only last for maybe another year. You know, the vast majority of their big players are getting on now. So I do think there's going to be a rebuild. I think that's already started. And Pep Guardiola is aware of that. That's probably one of the reasons why Kevin De Bruyne has been, you know, told that he's surplus to requirements now. So yeah, I think a rebuild is going to happen, and you know, while that rebuild is going on, they've got to try to be as successful as possible, i.e., qualifying for the Champions League every single season, making sure that Manchester City is still a destination that players want to go to, because all the time, while Liverpool are winning the league, while Arsenal are chasing them down, those two teams, if it continues like this, they're going to be, you know, a nicer place to go for the top players. So City have got to hang on in there while this rebuild is going on, and if Pep Guardiola can wave his magic wand and do it once again and actually win a league while he's doing it, well, that would just be incredible, because I do think they're way off at the moment. And
do you think this is the biggest rebuild that Pep's had in his managerial career? Is it a little bit of uncharted territory for him? This size of rebuild?
Probably, but I think he probably relished that, maybe, in a way. You know, he's always had, you know, you think about the Barcelona and the Bayern Munich team, absolutely incredible players that he's had, and at City as well, and this is probably the first time he probably doesn't have the best squad in the league that he's in. I think the one guarantee you can say is you got Erling Haaland at the top of the pitch. After that, it's not an absolute guarantee who's going to play. Probably Vardiol, and then there's Rodri. There's probably only 4 DS. You know, we haven't seen much of John Stones. Obviously, they need 2 new fullbacks, without question. I think they need 2 wingers, and they need 2 centre mids. So, like Mo said, you know, there's going to need a lot of money to be spent on it. You think, you know, they had, you know, Cole Palmer there and Liam Delap. You know, some of those players that have gone and left. Morgan Rogers went to Middlesbrough for $1 million. You know, so before we praise them, rightly so, for getting it right in the recruitment, last few years they've just maybe not got it.
Get into Dortmund. Exactly.
So they've not got it the way they had it, and that's why this window is so important. They can't afford to miss, you know. So Hugo Viana's come in, sport director next season, probably looking at the team now. They need a lot of pieces. And one thing I think they need desperately is athleticism in the fullback positions in the midfield. I don't think they have that. I think at their peak they had brilliant ball players, but they had pace and power as well. And I just think this season I don't think they had enough of that in the team.
That's a really good point Owen makes about the sporting director Hugo Viana, formerly of Newcastle United in his playing days. I mean, what a big job he has walked into at this stage where Manchester City are.
Yeah, I mean, you'd love to walk into something that's just a well-oiled machine, wouldn't you? That's just chugging along nicely and you just add the finishing touches to it. But he's almost got to rip most of the good things up and start again in many ways. I mean, he might be looking for a new manager as well in a year or two. You never know how long Pep Guardiola's going to stay. And of course, with that partnership with cheeky Bulgaristan, then all of a sudden, if he's leaving as well, then you think to yourself, that's Pep's sort of confidant, that's his partner in crime, let's say. So, yeah, it's all change at City, and it might take a little bit of pain for their fans for a few years before they see the brilliant City again. It might be a bit longer than that because, as I say, I think this is a real rebuild, and all the great players that have carried Manchester City for so long and won all these trophies, within a year or two, you probably won't hurt. There won't be any of those fingerprints on that team. So it's going to be all change. Big thing to evolve now for Pep Guardiola, and we'll see. Because as you've touched on before, he's always walked into teams that are already set and got great players. And has he ever done a rebuild like this, of this magnitude? Has he got the energy to do it as well after all those years? To go and start again, not from the bottom, but just to start again with a whole blank canvas in many ways. That remains to be seen.
And in terms of what he has got to do, as you've pointed out, it's not just one or two, is it? Which is easy in a successful team. Like they've been champions and recruited a Grealish or a Haaland. Now they've got to go and get, well, you think, what, 4 or 5?
Well, no, first of all, you think about the teams before. Look at Liverpool. We knew who was going to play every game. 10 out of 11 players, we knew who was going to play. Maybe rotate one. You look at City team, you don't know who's going to play this season. He rotated the goalkeeper, the back four rotated all the time. The 2 fullbacks change all the time. Kyle Walker left mid-season. The midfield was different every game. Obviously, to Rodri's injury, the wingers were different all the time. So you couldn't look and go, that's a City team like when they won the trophies, when they won the Premier League, when they won the Champions League, like Liverpool this season, like Arsenal in many ways. You know who's playing. City, every week, you wouldn't know who was fit or who was going to play. And I think they've got to get back to that. They've got to have 11 or 15 guys that they rotate that are going to play. And I think this season, for lots of reasons, obviously they've got a bit older. Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, they've all, Kevin De Bruyne, they've all just gotten a little bit older at the same time. And the injury to Rodri, I think, just sped that whole process up. So this summer is going to be big that they get the spine of the team correct. They've got Haaland. The question about who's going to be in goal. There's a lot of talk about Edison, that he was potentially going to go to Saudi. Rodri obviously is in there, but the rest of the team around that, they got to get pieces that, that are going to stay for 4 or 5 years.
And I know we all thought he went for experience tonight in this one-off game, but the fact that tonight's average age in the starting 11 was their oldest in 8 years, does that just back up your point and say everything, really?
Well, before the game, I was almost thinking, yeah, I get it, and I probably agree with it. But longer term, it's probably not the right thing to do. Short term, yeah, let's win the game. Let's, put the tried and trusted team out. But if it's come to that you're still relying on the old guard, even though you've already spent quite a lot of money, it's possibly quite worrying. And yeah, I mean, there's no getting away from it. There's going to be a big rebuild because these players can't go on forever. And they've been great servants to the club. And you could argue that this rebuild should have started sooner. All of a sudden it smacked Manchester City fans, Pep Guardiola in the face. As Owen said, it probably was sped up by Rodri getting injured, but maybe with a bit of foresight, bringing in 1 or 2 players before that and then doing it gradually might have been a better way to do it. Now all of a sudden it's, right, it's all wrong. Everybody's too old. We need now 5, 6, 7 players. That's a little bit too late because that takes a lot of time to bed in. So,
and I think that's really tricky. When you win, you get more loyal.
Yeah.
Because the guys have won for you. So you don't really want to think, oh, maybe we'll move somebody on. But the problem is there's probably 5 or 6 that got to that. And I think that's where Sir Alex was quite brilliant, actually.
Ruthless as well.
Yeah, this is it's not personal, but we're trying to compete for everything. And I think because they won so much, and like Kevin De Bruyne said there, they deserve a lot of praise. But this year they were just off it. And I think that's understandable. Sometimes you just need to refresh it with a couple of young guys that come in and kickstart you. And I think because they did so well, the club were very loyal and didn't change that. Even you think about Gundogan coming back, from Barca, and Cole Palmer leaving. something as simple as that could have changed their season. But if they get the recruitment right, I think they could be back at the top again next season.
The other thing, we sit here and we assume that, okay, you don't have to worry about the centre forward because he'll score.
Well, I was coming to that, actually.
All of us, do you not have to worry about him? I mean, now
because
Kevin
De Bruyne has
Bruyne's
been
not
the
there,
main source, hasn't he?
Exactly, and people like Bernardo Silva and other players, even Phil Foden. I mean, he sat on the bench most of the season this season. That's not a good look at all. I mean, he really should be the person that's coming into the team now and right, don't worry, I'll continue the baton. I've been here, seen it, done it. I've won all the trophies that we've won in recent years. Follow me type of thing. Now all of a sudden he's not in the team either.
And Marmoush is more of a scorer, isn't he?
He is, but I do worry for Erling Haaland now. And unless they find the right people to
give him the
fire
service.
him the bullets, then yeah, because every centre forward needs players to give them the service. I don't care how good you are, you can't win a game on your own. So as much as it's like, oh yeah, that position's a big tick, don't worry about that one. They're going to have to think carefully about who's right for the midfield, but who's right to actually connect, that midfield to Erling Haaland.
Mo, that's a good point. You think about Stevie G and Fernando Torres, the impact he had on him. As good a player as he was, Fernando Torres. Went to Chelsea. Yeah, it wasn't the same Fernando Torres. I know they played different, but he didn't get that.
Nowhere near.
He didn't. That's what I mean. He didn't get that service. Stevie was playing him in all the time. So I do think it's really important that City find a passer. Doku's a dribbler. Savinho's a dribbler. Phil Foden is a dribbler. Who's going to get a head up outside of Rodri and go and get it into Haaland? So that's a big question mark. I think the club has to figure out in the summer.
Mm. Well, there's a few items on the list here, isn't there?
There is. It's a big challenge for Pep Guardiola, and as I say, who can question him? But you do have to think. He's been there so long. He's been in management so long. To almost restart and repiece everything together, that's going to take a lot of energy, a lot of work on the training ground to get new people in and then drill them to how he likes them to be trained. And it's going to take an awful lot of energy to do all that. And it remains to be seen whether he's got the time, the energy, the desire to go again after all the success that he's had as well.
Mm. Because if you look at this squad at the moment, De Bruyne going, we expect the likes of Walker to go, etc. Where would they finish? Would they be a sort of battle for fifth like they are now?
What, next season? Depends on the summer. But I do think goal-scoring-wise, they're way down on what they were last season. So obviously Haaland guarantees you goals, but who else is going to chip in with 20?
But Michael's point is Haaland guarantees you goals if chances are created for him.
Haaland could probably score goals in his sleep. He could score goals anywhere, but he probably might not score 50 or 40, but he'll still get you 30 in a down season. But I think the other boys got to chip in. Doku, Savinho, Phil Foden didn't get the goals that they normally get. Bernardo Silva, Gundogan. So they need, obviously, Haaland get his 30, but they probably need another 3. They get you 15, and I don't think they have them the way they're playing at the moment. So I think they'll have a huge summer. I think there'll be a lot of ingoings and outgoings, but I do think the most important position for them is 2 fullbacks. I think a lot of everybody was playing out of position because they didn't have any fullbacks. So I think if they can address that, they still got a lot of centre backs: Akanji, Diaz, Stones, Ake. They got some great centre backs. I still think Edison is the best keeper. Rodri in there, that's going to be good. But again, you need a number 10. You need 2 wingers. You need 2 fullbacks. I think they're the 5 you go and get if you can.
We've already got 2 new defenders, of course, in January as well.
Yeah, but they're young, Steve. You're not going to win the Premier League with them next season, I don't think. They're players for the future and good players, but they're not ready to play 38 games, I don't think.
And there will be 1 or 2 to leave, won't there? I mean, we've mentioned a lot of the older players, but there's a few players there that won't be happy. I mean, I'm thinking mainly of someone like Jack Grealish. How can he be happy sitting on the bench all the time? It's okay if you're coming on and you're playing the odd game.
Hadn't appeared in the last 5, didn't come on in the cup final.
And now players that are coming on ahead of you and things like that. I mean, I know he got a fleeting appearance in injury time today, but that almost rubs salt in the wound. So I think there will be a few players going out. They might be able to recoup a little bit of money and then spend it again. But It's a real big rebuild for Manchester City. No matter which way you look at it, this is a rebuild. If the season was to start again today, I would no way have them as challenging for the Premier League title as things stand. Now, after a big summer, then maybe you could start thinking about it. But I think that's asking a lot. I think they've dropped so far now that I think it's asking a lot for them to make that ground up. It might take a bit of time.
And in De Bruyne, he leaves the biggest hole, doesn't he? And the biggest legacy.
Yeah, because he's Pep's a passer. Pep was a passer. He's one of the best passers I ever played against, one of the best of his era. Played just like Rodri. And he wanted his teams to pass. And he had the best passer of the game in Kevin De Bruyne, come up from Wolfsburg, and everybody thought, who's this? And he is easily one of the best passers we've ever seen, but you've got to find somebody to replace him. And I don't think there isn't one. You couldn't say, you think in European football, that's the guy, because there isn't another Kevin De Bruyne out there. I do think they might have to play differently, slightly different. And again, you see that, teams evolve. David Silva left, Yaya Toure left, Kevin De Bruyne comes in, you play different. And I do think whoever comes in now, if it's Florian Wirtz, you have to mould the team kind of in their best players style, like Liverpool did with Stevie G and Fernando Torres. So whoever comes in, you've got to work to their strengths. And Pep will do that. I don't think they'll play the same as they have the last few years. They'll tweak it slightly around the guys that they have.
As expected, like Company and Silva, he's getting his statue. He's getting the Kevin De Bruyne crescent as well. I know Phil Foden's been there a long time, but are we going to see this like of 10 years at a club like Manchester City again?
Yeah, I mean, it can happen, but it's very, very special people that do it. You've got to have the ability to start with. If you've not got the ability, then you'll be chewed up and spat out quite quickly. You've got to be elite, and he is elite. And he stayed fit, and he stayed hungry, and he stayed at the top. And he's been absolutely brilliant, and he's won everything, and deserves all the accolades that he's had tonight and that he will get for the rest of his life. So fair play to him. It's Manchester City's job now is to unearth the next one, and that is far harder than appears likely.
What a challenge.
It hasn't got the earpieces.
You've had so many amazing moments in this club with the fans, great goals, assists. How do you want to be remembered by these fans?
Well, I think we spoke. I want to bring joy to people, play offensive football, creative. This is what I am on the pitch. And I want to have fun, and I think we had a lot of fun in this 10 years. Obviously you win, you lose sometimes, but it was a joy working really hard and creating something for this club that brought the club much better than it was before, and I'm super proud.
Talking about fun, we've got to talk about your chants. Oh my
Terrible.
God.
Terrible.
I mean,
You can't do that, Micah. We have to.
Because Kevin knows how much I love him. But in this moment here, what is going through your mind?
No, I said I just have to be there. I have to be there. It's going to come. And it's terrible.
In fairness, though, there was a little bobble and you did kick your other foot. So I am giving you a little excuse.
There's no excuses.
He's not having it, Micah. He knows that should have been buried, and with a perfect finish as well. And your family couldn't believe it either.
I know. Hey, my son is going to be very tough on me today.
I know this is an impossible question, but when you look back on these 10 trophy-laden years that you've had here at Manchester City, if you could pick out one moment that will live with you the longest, which would it be?
Honestly, I don't look at that way. I think life and a career is a journey. So there's so many ups, and obviously there's also downs. But you have to get through all the moments to enjoy it. And every moment I enjoyed a lot, and I learned from the bad moments. And yeah, it's been amazing.
Just finally, because I know there's going to be a big farewell taking place in just a moment, you're going to be saying a few words to the crowds. Have you worked out what you're going to say?
No, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It will come in the moment. We'll see.
But Kevin, finally they're going to let you talk.
Can I just, Kevin, thank you very much.
Joining us, that was emotional.
It was.
How are you feeling right now? Because it was such a send-off here at the Etihad for Kevin De Bruyne.
But it's a mix of feelings and a part of sad, because have been massive important for all of us that we shared that this time with him, and yes, I'm happy because I felt, everybody felt the connection that he has, and he will have forever with our people and our fans. So you felt it in the moment, and every word. The video was so nice, and all the legends at the talk, you know, and you remember how nice I've been these 10 years. So I think he got a lot of love, because at the end the titles is fine, and, you know, leave the trophies, the contracts, but there is something that you cannot buy if you are honest, and he got all the love that all the people that love this club, and especially for the gratitude what this player year by year has done with all of us.
I said to you before the game, when the players arrived here at the stadium, it just felt different, and we know it was going to be a special night. But the energy just felt so good, and obviously that reflected in the result of the game itself.
Yeah, of course, the most important thing was, of course, it's a business that it win the game, and we did it an incredible opening. I was honest, and how they bad when, you know, the football is. They would destroy us in the Premier League in the first leg, and when the teams have this courage that Andoni Iraola has his teams, and of course Man City for as well. So the games always are good. They have chances. We have chances, open transitions, and the people enjoy. So, but it's true that we felt something because it was his day, and we want to win for him. Of course, he wanted, you know, for us, but the vibes that we had all since we arrived was there.
Can I ask then, how difficult was it to bring him off? The substitution you made after the sending off as well. Did you mean to do it at that point, or did you just want to keep him on the pitch for longer than you could?
Yeah, of course that, but after send off, but again, I remember at the beginning of the season that we gave away a lot of goals, a lot of actions. Still, we have to improve many things, but I cannot forget he played 100 minutes 3 days ago. It was so demanding, the game we played in Wembley, and the situation 10 against 11, you know, I prefer. So I was a little bit, it was a pity, you know, the incredible chance that he had to score a goal will be, you know, will be the cherries and the cake.
He almost did it.
Yeah, almost did. I remember this action in the first season with 1-0 up against Chelsea after Antonio Conte, and after we were champion. One quite similar action, a cross, and was, if only put in the bar and went out. I remember immediately when it happened, was, I think, was second season of him, our first season together. And look, after 9 years, it happened quite similar.
There were some good goals tonight, 3. One of them by Mini Rodri, with Nico, as you called him when he first arrived, but with Rodri on the pitch as well. You had him back. Pep, there's so many storylines tonight.
Yeah, it's a good news. Nico is a fantastic guy. I think he play holding midfielder, he can play more in front, make a fantastic goal, and of course the good news as well that Rodri for 5-10 minutes, you know, being back. Still is long, you know, way to come, so still is need month yet, but it's important that the first step he did it.
Lastly, Pep, again, thank you for your time, but you're very much now in the driving seat for a Champions League place next season. Just the point in your final game.
Yeah, it's a pity. It's a pity that in Southampton we could not collect the points, that we didn't play magnificent, I would say, especially in first half, but we played much better. We could not score, and now we'll be already done. They still have a lot of job to do, to celebrate it, okay, relax, but on Sunday we have a tough opening. So Marco Silva teams in the last years always were struggling incredible here and away. But yeah, we go there to win, to take the point that we need to next season be the Champions League.
Pep, thank you. Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At their final game away to Fulham, where they have a pretty imperious record, 14 Premier League wins in a row against the Cottagers. So that win tonight against Bournemouth here at the Etihad moves them on to 68 points, up into third. That game against Fulham, 96.8% chance Opta going with. They're really hedging their bets in terms of them making the Champions League football for a 15th consecutive season. Then comes Newcastle. They're at home to Everton, but the fascinating game in terms of who grabs that final 5th Champions League spot is that game between Nottingham Forest, who sit on 65 points, 1 point behind Aston Villa and Chelsea. Aston Villa away to Manchester United, but Chelsea travelling to the City ground. So, boys, we're assuming Man City are pretty much home and hose, but in terms of who grabs those final 2 spots, who's your money on, Micah?
It's difficult.
It is difficult, but you're here to answer.
I think Newcastle, and I'm going to say Aston Villa.
Jamie?
I find it hard to disagree with that, to be honest. I think going to Nottingham Forest, Chelsea the weekend is going to be really difficult
game. So much emotion going into
anything can happen, and I mean it because I've been involved in the last day of the season where I've been, not for champions, I'm trying, even relegation, and you think, well, we should do it. We should be the ones that stay up. Somebody gets sent off, and maybe a bad decision that goes against you, and the emotion plays a big part, and it's going to be so exciting. I can't wait for it.
Well, Bournemouth came here tonight with very, very faint hopes of perhaps finishing the season with a European place. Those hopes have been extinguished here tonight at the Etihad. Let's hear from Andoni Iraola.
Andoni, that was a frustrating night for you. You knew it was going to be difficult, but can you just sum up how you feel about it so far?
Yeah, it was going to be always difficult, no? City at home, last game of the season. You could see straight away, no, that they needed this win, and I think they started really strong. First goal, I don't know if it's goal of the season, but it's an amazing goal. I don't think we can blame anyone. It's a hell of a goal, and then they were overall, I think, better than us in the first half. I think we improved a lot in the second half. I think we were having more the ball, creating more chances. But probably when we had the chance, no, against 10, we've made another mistake. I don't think Lugus goes with the intention of hurting Nico, but arrives a lot earlier. He tries to pull out his leg, not try to break, and probably this intention of pulling out makes the contact a little bit higher. Maybe he goes stronger and goes to the foot. It's not a red card. And after we fought 10 against 10, we scored the goal, but evidently was late.
You head into the final game now, knowing that European football is beyond your reach next season. So how do you approach that final game? Because I know you have players leaving, I know you have players linked with other clubs as well. Is it about going into that final game and just continuing to make the memories that you have done this season? Because largely it's been a good season for you.
Yes, obviously it's been a good season, but we want to finish it well. We want to finish it with 3 points, and there are also 3-4 spots of change. We can finish 9, 10, 11, 12, I think, there. So we want to finish as high as possible, and finish also winning the last game, in front of our fans, and I hope we can do it on Sunday, yes.
Listen, Jamie, we knew coming here tonight that the European hopes for Bournemouth were faint at best, but when he looks back on the season after that final game at home to Leicester on Sunday, this has been some season from the Cherries.
Yeah, incredibly. He'll be so proud of the team and the way that they've played and the improvements this season. To finish where they are and how much enjoyment he's brought to the people of Bournemouth has been phenomenal. It's almost mind-blowing. As I say, I was there as a 16-year-old and I left the club at 17, and if you'd have said to me that they would be doing what they are now and challenging and playing the football that they are and competing at this level, it wasn't their best night tonight. I must admit, there's been a lot of games. I remember going to Arsenal a few weeks ago where they were magnificent. I think they didn't quite show themselves in the best light, but there were still some good moments for them. If maybe 1 or 2 things could have gone their way, it might have been a different story, but I just felt Manchester City were just a bit more at it and started a bit brighter today.
Don't you think the manager deserves a lot of credit, though, for the way this team play now? It's absolutely exceptional on that transition. They're really good. Kirkes has been fantastic. Hoyson, we mentioned before the show. Even the likes of Semenyo, how he's improved his game as well. Evan Nilsson's been brilliant. Cliver, we've not mentioned all night. They've got some really good players, and the manager is getting the best out of them.
Had a few injuries as well. Christie being out as a blow for them in midfield, he makes such a difference. So, yeah, it's really tough. And I'm interested to see how it ends up for him, because there'll be so many clubs looking at him and thinking, well, he could take our club to the next level. You can see what he's done at Bournemouth. He could do it with a bigger club, and that's no disrespect.
Apart from the De Bruyne miss, which would have crowned it off nicely, it was the only other blot on City's night, that mix-up at the back that allowed Jefferson in for his first Premier League goal.
Yeah, well, I think Bournemouth had some good counter-attacks, and that's what they do. I mean, it's a mistake there. It's a bad pass, but you've got to take your chance. Gets a little bit of luck, Jefferson, but that's what you need in terms of... This is what sort of stops City from being the real City, whether they're making daft individual errors or on transition. And tonight they had a couple opportunities on transition and then an error leading to goal.
Let's have a look at the 2 red cards, Jamie. The first one for Mateo Kovacic, his first red card, and his 203rd Premier League appearance. Was it a fairly easy one for the referee, Thomas Bramall?
Do you know, it was almost a mirror image of the one early in the season with Saliba and even Nilsson, and he's definitely going to be denying a goal-scoring opportunity. You can see that even Nilsson's free. There's at least 5-6 yards between him and the other defenders. So yeah, I think they've got it right.
Yeah.
Kovacic is, you know, it's one of those.
Right decision.
And only 6 minutes and 7 seconds later, and things were equaled up. I mean, Andoni Iraola didn't think Lewis Cook should have been shown the 3rd career red card and his 2nd for Bournemouth. What was your take on it, Micah?
It's a hard one. I think the way he goes in there, yeah, it's just that it's high. It's dangerous, so I understand, but he actually tries to pull out last minute, which maybe, like, you can see he's trying to pull his leg out, but it is high and it is dangerous.
Well, he leaves the ground, doesn't he? That's the kind of thing they're going to be looking at.
Correct, yeah, and he could break his leg there, so I understand why it was a red card.
VAR would say that's serious foul play. And the only thing I will say is when you in that kind of tackle, if you keep your leg straight and keep it there, that's a lot more dangerous. What he does, his leg is straight, but then as soon as he makes the impact, then he bends it. I don't know if we can see that again, but so that for me is where it's not necessarily what I would call a leg-breaking tackle. You know, you just see it here. Look, it isn't great, and I'm not trying to defend him, but there he just, you know, his right leg. So it's one of the...
But what frustrates people look on and think, well, where's he supposed to go?
Yeah, look, watch his right leg now. As he makes the contact, it's straight, and then he just takes it back straight away.
Exactly,
Look, it probably, in this current climate, I would say it is a red. You know, and Andoni said, I think it was a decision that went against him again in the Aston Villa one with Mings. He felt that was an elbow. So there's been a couple of things that might have gone your way, might not have gone your way, but that one, I feel, was probably just about a red.